Hello there and welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how to do a watercolour snowman. We'll be using 4 or 5 colours. Neutral tint, Payne's grey, I think I've got Prussian Blue in there, Cadmium Red and a little bit of yellow. I start off by sketching out the snowman and now I'm wetting the background, making sure that I'm not going over the snowman. I'm wetting the background because I want to do a wet on wet technique here. I don't want any hard lines on the background, so I've wet paper and I'm daubing my paint on so that it blends nicely to not get any hard edges. I'm putting quite a lot of water down, or a very wet mixture of paint, and I shall show you why in a moment. Okay, so the first layer's down. Those little white blobs are going to be his mittens. And this is rock salt. Rock salt absorbs the watery kind of mixture and it leaves these sort of little blizzard effects, which I really like. Gives sort of very good snow effect. You can see it working now. I've just dried it a little bit with the hairdryer, but I'll leave that on for the rest of the painting because it does take a while to dry underneath the snow, the salt rather. Here I'm just adding a little bit of shading around the side of the snowman. I generally don't mix my colours in the palette very much, so here I've added a bit of Payne's grey and then I daub in a little bit of yellow over the top and I work the colours together on the paper. I like that kind of effect that it gives. Now I found some really nice bright red. I think it's a cadmium red. This is one of the top tips to make sure that you make a note of your colours on your palette because it's easy to forget. There's a bit of I think that's a Prussian Blue little pom-pom, and I'm also going to do his mittens Prussian Blue, or her mittens Prussian Blue, who knows. When you're painting with watercolour, it's important to maintain the sort of integrity of the white page. So you don't actually use white paint generally if you're doing watercolours. You just preserve the white of the page. That's not to say that you can't go over with a bit of gel pen or a bit of white gouache. Somebody always tells me that I always pronounce gouache wrong. Is it gouache? Gouache. Anyway, just doing his scarf here. And there aren't outlines in real life, but I did outline this snowman a little bit to give him or her a little bit of oomph against the background. I'm just using my thin detailed brush to do the twigs for his or her arms, and obviously the buttons. Just finishing off the hat with the blue. Obviously, if you're doing this yourself, just use whatever colours you like. Just adding a bit of carrot for his nose. And a little bit more shading. What often happens with watercolour or colour, what always happens with watercolour, is it dries a lot lighter than what you actually put down. So often it requires extra layers, and that's fine. Here I'm just doing a bit of shadow underneath the snowman. Snowy. And just strengthening up those mittens and the pom-pom. And just adding a few little extra details into the hat. Bit of shading underneath so that it doesn't look totally flat, and like I said, just adding a little bit of an outline. It doesn't exist in real life, but it's just a Christmas card. So yes, just strengthening here the colours underneath. And here I'm going to start working on the background and do some pine leaves because I decided that the background looks a little bit sparse. So I've got the pine trees there. For the pine trees, you kind of just start by drawing a little bit of a line down. The first fronds go up and then they start going down. And because it's in the background, it's just sort of, you can afford to be a little bit random. The background is still wet a little bit, so where I've lifted off some of the salt, the back it's wet underneath, and so it gives a bit of a blended effect. Which the further things are in the background, you don't really want things to be crystal clear. It's fine to be a bit blurry. Added a few extra grasses at the front, at the bottom, just to give us a bit of depth of field, bring the foreground closer. And I thought that the right hand side needed some trees as well, so I've added some trees there. So I'm just strengthening up some of the details of the hat and the scarf and the mittens, just to add a bit of detail to give snow clothing a little bit more interest. Again, I never have much patience, so I often get the hairdryer out to just dry things off a little bit quicker. Things always take a bit longer in the winter. You can really tell here that I have no patience because I'm hair drying at the same time that I'm painting. Just strengthening up the shadow underneath Snowy, giving him a final dry so that I can take off some of the snow as well. This is what I was talking about with the white, so you can add a little bits of accents of white with things like a gel pen or white paint. Just doing some snow on the pines in the background as well. Just adding some final snow also onto his hat and gloves and scarf. And here comes for the most satisfying of all watercolour painting, is taking off the masking tape, which always leaves a lovely crisp line around the outside, and blowing off the final bits of the salt. Thank you very much for watching today. If you do have a go, please let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear how you got on. Thank you.